All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live with Brain Food from the Heartland, the Louis B. Free radio show, The Adventures of Johnny Butterflyseed. I have Tarisa Parrish on with me. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself.
So my name is Tarisa Parrish. I am the author of The Adventures of Johnny Butterflyseed, which is a book all about saving the endangered monarch butterflies.
You know, and I was telling you off air, and I get concerned because I remember when I was young, which was an awful long time ago now, but I remember you'd see lots of butterflies. I would see lots of bees. I'm kind of, not to mix issue, but I don't see the bees like I used to see. I don't see the butterfly, and it concerns me. So tell us a little bit about your path and how you got involved with this.
Well, I have noticed the same thing. So when I was a kid, I remember seeing monarch butterflies everywhere. I grew up in Minnesota, so I'm just going to say where it is cold most of the year, you can still grow milkweed and have monarchs. But when I started noticing that there were less and less monarchs, I tried to find out, why is this happening? And it is the plight of all pollinators, not just the monarchs, but you mentioned bees and other insects that pollinate our food, that they're declining. And there's multiple reasons. Of course, using chemicals on your lawns and your gardens and your fields kills the milkweed itself. And this is the only larval host plant for the monarch butterfly. But there's also, development, urban development, climate changes. The more we continue to put in, multiple multifamily housing, we continue to grow or build businesses and develop our urban areas, we forget sometimes that we're literally changing the environment, the ecology, and removing the habitat for these pollinators. There's things that we can do, though, to try to compensate. We can still build a house, yet plant the right things that we can put the ecology back in place.
Stop using all these horrific chemicals. And again, not to digress too much, but one of the things with Roundup, with glyphosate, and I've had numerous people on talking about the ill effects to humans, that it's so pervasive in our environment. There's so much of it. It's in the water. It's, and the ill effect that it has on human health. I had a doctor on yesterday, a physician on yesterday, talking about it being in the food and being in the wheat and being in the, the Roundup Ready products that are out there. But without our pollinators, when people would say, there's an old song, very much predates you. Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the birds up above, and a thing called love, and about, procreation, and just the fact that without the pollinators, selfishly, we won't have food. I get concerned about that. People need to recognize that this is our food source. This is life on Earth.
Yeah. So people are unaware. And so I always say, awareness is the first step to anything, right? So if they are unaware that getting rid of the bees, getting rid of the butterflies will affect your food supply, you might take a different view. Right? If you actually have the understanding and you have that education that then you can do something about it.
So again, but you have to understand what's going on. When you mentioned milkweed, let's talk about that a little bit, about planting milkweed. And if you look at the website, you can see that, and you can find information about that. And again, it's johnnybutterflyseed.com. We've got links up at louisfreeshow.com and at wfmj.com. Tell us a little bit about milkweed.
So milkweed is what's called the larval host plant of the monarch butterfly. What that means is that is the only plant that the monarch will lay the eggs on. So they lay the eggs. The caterpillars literally need milkweed in order to, grow and survive. So without milkweed, we have no monarchs. So it's unfortunate that weed is in the name of these beautiful plants. But we can actually grow gardens with milkweed in. We can put them in our fields. We can put them in our ditches. We can put them in urban gardens. And what we're going to do is create more plants for the monarchs to lay their eggs on.
Tell me a little bit more about your path to what you're doing today, if you would.
Well, it's an interesting path. As a kid, I was that kid that just left the house, went out in the woods. I was very into nature. I rescued every animal, insect I could possibly imagine, mostly to my mother's dismay, because she would open up my, drawers of where my clothes were supposed to be, and she'd find, chipmunks and snakes and whatever else that I was
Yay.
saving.
Yay.
So I was always on this path and very connected with nature. But I'm just telling you, when I saw, especially monarchs and bees disappearing, this puts up some big red flags for me, because I remember as a kid them being everywhere. The fact that you can go out to a garden and not see any bees or any butterflies is shocking. There's something wrong in the world.
So what was the tipping point for you?
Noticing that the monarchs were disappearing, and I'm like, why is this happening? Is it just because of development? But no, it's more than that. And even if you go to like at your regular stores that have garden centers, every plant there is sprayed. I'm telling you, I was at Home Depot the other day because I wanted to get some nectar plants to put in my butterfly garden, and I looked at these beautiful flowers, and I was just looking at them, and I started to notice. I looked up and I was like, wait a second, there are literally no bugs on these plants. And I could look up and see the milkweed, which was unsprayed, filled with bees and butterflies. And I'm like, I'm not buying any of these plants. There's something wrong with them. And there is, because there are chemicals on them that the insects won't go near, or it could kill them.
Which is bizarre when you think about it, correct? Because it doesn't, I mean, is it to keep you coming back to their stores because they're not? I don't get it. I don't understand the idea of, we'll just put a chemical on it. We'll just do this. We'll just preserve. Right. We'll just, and at what cost to our personal health and the world?
Well, unfortunately, when it comes to business, the businesses want to sell things that people want. And I'm just going to say, well, I was standing there commenting, what is wrong with these plants? There's no bugs on it. 2 other women walked by and looked at it and said, that's perfect, no bugs. So this is what we're combating, is the lack of awareness of what does that actually mean. And a lot of people just don't want any bugs in their yard. So they continue to plant the grasses, plant the flowers that are just full of chemicals, and it keeps them bug free. I'm like, you're literally changing ecology. Like everything you do changes ecology.
And these chemicals they don't go away. That's the other, I mean, again, when I think about Roundup and all the services that come out and put things so you don't have any weed in your yard. It just and these chemicals, people breathe them in, they get, and they're forever. They get into our water supply. It's just it's frightening. It really is.
It is. I look at everyone's out there, and everyone wants that perfect lawn, and they want a perfect garden, and they're so worried about looking good. And I've realized it shouldn't be about looking good. It should be about doing good. And if you understand what you are doing to the environment and the ecology when you're trying to have these perfect lawns and gardens, then maybe you could stop, right? I mean, like, just do good. Like, if you don't have bugs in your yard, something's wrong. Your garden's very wrong. Not good. Your food won't grow. If you're growing a vegetable garden, you have no bugs, nothing is going to grow.
And it's interesting when you say that, because I've often said people are more concerned with the greenness of their grass and the goodness of the relationships that they have in their home and outside the world, but my yard looks good. My yard looks good. And there's ways of having your yard look good if you want that to look good without these horrific, toxic chemicals. And the other thing I don't see that I used to see is fireflies. And I mean, I used to go out, I used to go sit out and I'd watch them, light up, and
love them.
I'm not seeing them like I used to.
No, and same thing. I've noticed the same thing.
Right? And it's all part of it. And by the way, I've got to mention that if they go to your site, you do have milkweed seed packs.
We do. Yeah. And now it's really important. I would say the seed packs that I sell cover most of the United States, except for probably the Pacific Northwest. But there are many types of milkweed, and you should always find what is a milkweed that is native to your area. You should always plant native. I mean, not just milkweed, but with everything, whether it's grasses, flowers, milkweed, plant native. There's a reason why to do this, and that's because then you will have the ecology that you're supposed to have in your
Supposed to
area.
have, yeah,
Mhm.
not bringing something in from
Mm.
somewhere else. But your milkweed, I mean, again, I hope you don't mind if I ask, but for Ohio, Pennsylvania, your milkweed
Mhm.
good, or should we try to
So
find it?
it'll work there. Yes.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I just
Yep.
well, then when you said that about native, I just wanted to make sure. And again, what would be a wonderful thing to do for
Mhm.
people, and again to attract them, and again without these beautiful creatures. And again, when you think about tell us a little bit more about the monarch butterfly.
Monarch to me is like, it's probably what I would say the most miraculous of the butterflies. So it's a migrator, which most butterflies aren't they don't migrate. So the monarch typically in any area will live 3 to 4 generations. And then that last generation, whether it's third or fourth generation, starts to migrate. And this happens almost over the entire United States, Canada. They either go to California or Mexico. I do have a suspicion that none of the monarchs here in Florida migrate because the weather is very good and it has the same sort of climate that they're looking for overwintering. But there's organizations in place you can get tags and you can tag these monarchs and participate in helping track the migration of the monarch. So the monarch is just exceptional because, I mean, those little tiny wings will flap for 1,500, 2,000 miles to go migrate for overwintering. That's incredible.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
That's absolutely incredible. So let's talk about the book. I love the book, The Adventures of Johnny Butterfly Seed. Tell us
Mhm.
about it.
So Johnny Butterflyseed, everyone's heard of Johnny Appleseed,
Yeah,
right? Or
I
Johnny
love that.
Appleseed, he traveled everywhere planting apple seeds, producing food for people. Well, Johnny Butterflyseed actually takes milkweed and plants milkweed everywhere to help save the monarchs. So it's that same sort of, tongue in cheek on Johnny Appleseed is Johnny Butterflyseed. So Johnny is a young man that loves the monarch butterflies, and he too has been noticing that there's been a decline in monarchs over the years. Even though he keeps planting milkweed, he sees less and less monarchs every year. And so him and his fairy friend, Raven Silverwing, who you can see on the cover sitting on Johnny's shoulder, they come up with a plan to help save the monarchs. And that includes working with Queen Venus, who is the queen of all monarchs, and enlisting the help of all monarchs to lay eggs on all these plants that they can take these plants and start to share them with future butterfly farmers. So these are kids all over the country so that we can start igniting their passion around the monarchs so that they can start to plant milkweed and raise butterflies everywhere they are in the country.
It's beautiful, and a beautiful book and a beautiful gift, by the way. You know what I loved is that when I was looking at the advanced praise for The Adventures of Johnny Butterfly, see there you have the 8-year-old
Mhm.
that the quote. I love that. I love that. You never see that. You always see people with certain titles and certain things,
Yeah.
and which is important, which is good, which is great. But you had an 8-year-old, a quote from an 8-year-old. I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Tell me about Michael.
So Michael is my partner and he is the real Johnny Butterflyseed. So he's the inspiration for the book. And he's the one that I learned he would just take milkweed. He'd carry it with him all the time and he'd just go out and he'd plant it. Didn't matter if he was in an urban location or a country location, planting milkweed to try to help the monarch. So he is definitely the inspiration of this book.
A little bit more about Michael.
What type of question?
Oh no, just want you. I want you to go with it. Tell me a little bit about. Tell me about you and Michael.
Okay. So we're both nature lovers. I would say, like if you have two people cut from the same cloth, we have a lot of the same interests. So that we are very, very passionate about endangered species. Have a long history of being connected, very connected with nature itself. Michael is very into ecology. He runs a land management and restoration company, which is focused here in Central Florida on restoring native habitats in Florida. We happen to live on what's called the Lake Wales Ridge. This is the only part of Florida that was never under the ocean. And therefore, we have very unique prehistoric species, whether they are plants, animals, or insects. And trying to preserve that and make sure that you know, the development doesn't destroy that, let's say the gopher tortoise that lives here, that some of these plants that only exist here on the ridge don't get plowed under and forgotten.
I was just watching something about the manatees and the problems with the
Mm,
manatees and how, and again, the chemicals, all these horrific
yeah.
chemicals, when I think of glyphosate, Roundup, et cetera, and I get concerned because I was speaking with the physician. Again, he was talking about how bad it is for our gut. I've talked with Dr. Stephanie Seneff, an MIT professor, about how bad it is, for humans, how bad the
Mhm.
glyphosate is and how what a disruptor it is, and her concern with the proteins and the vaccines, et cetera, and all the different. But again, when we think about it environmentally, and I always talk about this, Teresa, at with all the lawsuits, with all the successful lawsuits. Let me
Yes.
rephrase that: successful lawsuits. So once for Monsanto and now for Bayer, that bought Monsanto and produces glyphosate and produces the Roundup and Roundup Ready, the products. I'm surprised. How does and I hope you don't mind if I go here, how does our government, how are they allowed to continue to produce it when we know how toxic it is? And even if people say, well, there are professionals that are trained and know how to use it, and but I can walk into a store and buy gallons of it, and you don't have to take a test or read or the brochure, all the safety issues. People just use it. And that horrifies me that again, not to get political or anything, this is overall, this is not a party issue, how our government allows that product to still be manufactured and utilized today.
Well, and the thing is, like, we just have to stop buying it. I mean, when I say we, I mean collectively. The reason why it's still out there is because people continue to buy it. It's supply and demand. Now, if we can come up with another way and we can get that out there, or we learn how to manage our ecology without trying to kill so many things that are native, maybe there is a different way, right?
There is a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And again, one of the ways is certainly planting the weed. And I would urge people to go to the website and get more information about that. And it's johnnybutterflyseed.com, johnnybutterflyseed.com. So when putting the book together, tell me what the process was like for you.
The book for me is like, I've always wanted to write a children's book. When I was in college, I told people that I was going to be a children's book author. But I was also a business major. It just happened to be that when the world shut down for COVID, that there was this, what I call, something wonderful was happening. Even though my consulting work in business was slowed down, it actually gave me the space. And I was like, I should be doing something I've always wanted to do right now. And so I literally sat down and wrote out the story of Johnny Butterflyseed, thinking I would at some point self-publish it. But I started handing it out to authors to get their opinions and their feedback and help shape the story a little bit. And then I reached out, like I told you before, and found the illustrator, and it came to life just perfectly.
The illustrations are fantastic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so I then submitted to several different publishing houses and was literally shocked in such a short period of time. And this was in the fall of 2020 that Post Hill Press out of New York, which is a traditional publisher, said, yeah, we'll publish this. And this will be distributed through Simon & Schuster. So it currently is available globally on every online bookstore. So, when you set out to do something and you get that sort of confirmation that things happen exactly how they're supposed to, you just know you were supposed to do that.
So that had to feel really good to
really
have that.
Good.
And again, the illustrations are absolutely fantastic. What is it like having your ideas put into illustration like that and come alive like that? That's got to be an incredible experience.
It's a really awesome experience, because as I'm writing it, I was trying to visualize, and I'm not an illustrator, but when I handed my story over to Stephanie and the first pass through, I was just like, you are gifted. I mean, she literally brought this story to life. I mean, we did do a few changes here and there, But it's just amazing. The people who do illustrations for children's books are so talented at bringing the words off the page to life into a picture.
Yeah, and it's beautiful with Johnny Butterflyseed. And I know it's a I know it's targeted for children, but it's a great book for people. It's a great book and a great wake-up call, I think, for all of us, because we adults need to know. Yes, kids need to read it and kids need to encourage and do what they can do, but adults we need to lead. We need to lead. And I would love, and it's a wonderful book to sit down with a little one and read through and talk with them about it.
Well, kids will only find out about this if their parents also care. If you think about this. So if the parents don't know that you shouldn't kill the milkweed or every other weed in your yard, the kids won't either. So it's really important, that parents also get on board. And, this is something that's a fabulous experience to do with your children is grow the milkweed. Watch the butterflies lay their eggs, watch those eggs hatch, turn into caterpillars, and those hungry caterpillars eat up all the weeds on the milkweed, and then turn into this beautiful chrysalis. And 14 days later, boom, butterfly. It is such a miracle.
And great for kids to witness that, and parents and for parents and for all of us. I mean, it's still in my ancient age, it's still fascinating to me that it happens like that, and they come out. I mean, it's that transformation is incredible. So these amazing monarch butterflies.
Yes.
And again, to encourage, go ahead.
It's just also to be able to have those conversations with your kids about, like, look how this little caterpillar can do this without even being told. It knows exactly what to do, and it turns into this butterfly who, by the way, can fly 1,500 miles on its little tiny wings. So sometimes it helps give perspective when we are challenged with something that we think is so overwhelming in life, that we can say, wow, if that little butterfly can fly 1,500 miles, I think I can get through whatever I'm going through.
And that's a great lesson. That's a great lesson. And it is amazing when you think about that, that little, going that distance. Some people think, if they're starting a new exercise program, or, well, I don't know, I don't know if I can walk around the block, but I can walk up the street a little bit, and it all starts easy. I get that. It all starts with the first step and the first, but again, for something like that, that's absolutely incredible. These incredible creatures that literally are our pollinators.
Yes.
For our world.
And I loved putting into the book some of those teachable moments, like, everyone gets a little stressed out when you have so much. You want to accomplish something and it seems so big. But in the book, the teachable moments that come across are like, you know what? All you have to do is just start. Just do one small thing every single day. And pretty soon you'll find other people who are passionate about the same thing. And together you're all doing one small thing, making a very, very big difference in the world. So it teaches kids, like, don't hold yourself back. Just get out there, start, and do some small thing every day, and you will make a difference.
And again, that message, as I've always said, if everybody did a little, others wouldn't have to do a lot. If everybody just did a little, again, something is just like you say, if everybody did a little, you get the kids to encourage that, and you never know what's going to inspire them to do as they grow up. They're getting the tools that you're giving them.
Yeah.
As child, go ahead.
Well, my hope is that as kids read this story when they're 8 years old, like Isla did in the advanced reviews.
I love that. Yeah.
I
love
when
that.
they read this, and they become very engaged and inspired and have a passion around the monarch, fast forward 10, 15 years, we have our future decision makers.
Yes.
Who hopefully have learned about the chemicals, about the urban development, about the climate changes, and they're better educated on the issues, and they can make better decisions.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm going to go back to when you said about Isla, age 8. I just love seeing this. You've got the mayor signatory in the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge, legal director for the Center for Food Safety, National Wildlife Mayor's Monarch Pledge, Bill Muntz from Lakeland, Florida, and Isla McKinnon, age 8, Minnesota. I mean, I love that. I love, again, maybe I read books differently because I'm reading for an interview or whatever, but I like to see what the advanced I like to see what the dedication is. I like to see what it is because it tells me a little bit about the author. I love that you included that. I think that's so powerful. Again, it's JohnnyButterflyseed.com, JohnnyButterflyseed.com. Tell me for you about developing some of the other characters, if you will, in the book.
Well, I spent a lot of time thinking about how many characters should be in the book. And so you see Johnny Butterflyseed, and we do have Michael as the real live Johnny Butterflyseed. If you look closely at Raven Silverwing, you might notice a slight resemblance to myself.
Slight, I think, would be understating it.
And even Queen Venus is Michael's daughter, Sophia. So all the characters in the book are actually modeled after people in the family. Even Evelyn, the little girl in the picture in the school, is modeled after Michael's daughter Agnes and her daughter Evelyn. So these characters are all, we are all about saving the monarch butterfly, and it gave a lot of good personality to the characters right away to have actual personas in being people.
I think the illustrations are absolute, for listeners, the illustrations are absolutely wonderful. And again, if you go to the website, you can see more about it, JohnnyButterflyseed.com, JohnnyButterflyseed.com. They can order autographed copies, correct?
They can.
Still do that? Yeah.
From my website, you can get the author signed copies. I will sign this, as well as Johnny Butterflyseed also does sign them. And then, of course, you can also get it on every online bookstore, whether it's Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, any of those bookstores all have it online.
And if you want to, my understanding is if you want to pick it up at Barnes & Noble, you can order it that way also. If you want to patronize. Again, I know they're not independent booksellers, but they still hiring people. They're still renting in your area and still hiring local people. So if you want to patronize that, you can do it that way also. And again, available everywhere online. We've got links up at louisfreeshow.com and wfmj.com, or you can go directly to johnnybutterflyseed.com. What did Michael think? At what point did you, if you don't mind if I ask, did he help along with the process? Did he view along with the process, or did you say, here it is?
Nope, he helped along with the process.
So
we do everything together. So as I was writing the book,
you didn't say surprise.
No, no, he was my first reviewer. So we worked out a lot of the details early on before I started soliciting editing feedbacks from other authors. So yeah, he was a very integral part of the process. And I'm just going to say, we did, like, I'll put on my little Raven Silverwing costume and I'll go places just like that and talk to people and give out books and give out seeds. So it's part of our mission.
Wow. What is that like? What is that like for you?
I think it's fun. I mean, people are sometimes surprised when, like, you show up somewhere where we're like, why do you have a costume on? I don't know. This is how I dress today.
I love that. I love that. And how does that feel for you to I'm sure you get great reception, right? And you're educating people.
Exactly. I love it. And I don't mind being different. I mean, I think we should just be ourselves no matter what. So I don't mind.
I'm with you there. See, except I have the age. People don't look, they may shake their head. They may look at me and, yeah, God, is his hair green? Really? Is that, did he, but for you, for someone young, I think that's absolutely wonderful to do.
Well, I heard the best quote when I think I was in my 20s or something, that what other people think of me is none of my business.
Oh, I like that. You know what? I love that. But other people think of me as none of my business.
None of my business.
What? I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Words to live by. I had it up at my desk for years because it's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know who I am.
I love that. What other people think of me is none of my business. So tell me a little bit more about the reception when you're out, when you're dressed in costume and working with the books.
Well, kids absolutely light up. Kids are just like so attracted. Like if you're in a monarch costume and you're walking around with children's books, kids will just come out of nowhere just to talk to you. So I think it's very fun, and people are very receptive everywhere that I've actually dressed up and went to. It's like, I think it's a great thing to do.
Well, and it attracts people, and people are
Mhm.
curious as to what you're doing, right? I mean, if you're just
Right.
standing there, people may not get the idea, but they see you in costume, and that's got to be very, very cool for you,
Mhm.
very wonderful for you, and attract, and people are inquisitive, right? So
They are.
they'll come over and see. When you say that about, again, I'm looking at a couple of emails about planting the milkweed. Is there certain times, if you don't mind, in our area? Of course, the weather's been so bizarre. It's been
Yeah.
so warm, and I think it's even going to be warmer this weekend. When do people plant the? People are asking, when do they plant the milkweed? Would you say, again, you're in Florida, in Ohio, Pennsylvania? What would you
Right.
say?
I would say, you do need to wait till spring, really,
Sure.
and get those seeds in and plant as many. I mean, like, I go by, well, I used to live in Minnesota, so let me tell you
Yeah.
that,
Okay. For a
I
minute.
know what it's like to be cold. But what I would do is I would take milkweed seeds and wildflower seeds, and I would go out and, like every 2, 3 weeks, I just sprinkle a bunch of seeds right through where I wanted them. And then all these flowers would come up, and everyone would be like, oh, look at all the flowers we have this year. And I'm like, yep, I just keep laying down the seed. A certain percentage will come up. And the more you put them down, the more you have.
And again, so wait till spring, get them in the
Mhm.
ground, and with the milkweed, do it as plant as many as you can, right? Because
Yeah,
again, and make your area, make your yard, make your garden somewhere where the monarch butterflies can come,
right.
because there's
And
so many places they can't. Go ahead.
and the milkweed themselves, when they grow, they do form pods, and those pods release seeds. So once you have the milkweed established, they'll also keep reseeding themselves, which is a great thing. That's why they're called a weed, though.
Yeah, and again, you've got aprons, you've got shirts, right? Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit more. Oh, you've got notebooks.
Mhm.
Oh, you've got lots of great stuff.
Yeah.
Ceramic mugs,
Yes.
water bottles.
Yes. So for big fans, and of course, like, I carry these things around. I'll carry my Johnny Butterflyseed water bottle, or I'll be drinking out of a Johnny Butterflyseed cup. It's just, it helps with the little advertising, and the illustrations are so amazing that it looks great on products. And yes, I do wear my Johnny Butterflyseed apron in the kitchen.
Of course. I love that my milkweed brings all the monarchs
Monarchs.
to the yard.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
And that's great. And t-shirts also, and
Mhm.
coffee cups and everything available. And again, it helps support your work, correct?
That's correct.
Which is so
That's-
important. Tell us a little bit more about the work.
So I all year long continue to plant gardens and raise monarch butterflies and other butterflies, and also very, very active in restoring, like I was mentioning before, native habitats and plants on the Lake Wales Ridge. So
And what's that
that's,
like for you? What's that like for you?
I
It's got
love it.
very rewarding, but what is it
What is it? Well, sometimes
like
it's a
for?
lot of hard work.
I
We
bet.
own
I'm
land on
sure.
the ridge, and we're constantly, you have work to do on the land all the time. So whether it's removing invasive non-native plants, or you're planting native plants, or you're clearing trails to get through the woods, or you're planting things for particular insects like the monarchs, there's a constant flow of work that needs to be done on the land.
And again, that's an issue. The invasive plants is an issue. I was talking with someone in my area recently about some of these, and they're very fast growing. I don't know if they're actually called trees or not, but things that are invasive. And yeah, as nice as you may think, and how quickly they grow, and they may look nice, but it's a problem.
And they take over. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, especially in Florida, there was a time where a lot of people were bringing ornamental plants and planting them in their yard. And I'll just use
Oh.
one, the Brazilian pepper tree that produces these very red berries. And they have literally taken over. I mean, everywhere you'll drive along a freeway or a highway, and you'll see a Brazilian pepper going the whole way. And what that does is it actually chokes out
Yeah.
the native plants that are supposed to be there, and therefore changes your ecology. So certain insects are and certain animals are losing their habitats because some of these plants are taking over. So someone needs to be able to remove these, and more people have to be educated on the danger or the impact that they're having to our ecology. And, I look at it and say, you know what? Some of this land has less value because it's covered in invasive non-native plants that are actually choking out the habitat for our native things.
Which is awful.
Mhm.
Again, which is awful, and it changes things, and it could be irreparable harm.
Yeah,
When
and
you
it
think
does.
about it. Again,
It
and
is.
just like, when we look at what's going on again environmentally, and we look at how we keep cutting down, people say, well, there's so many squirrels. Well, you're getting rid of the habitat. Why are all the deer? Well, and it's
Mhm.
tragic if you see a deer, hit by a car or whatever. It's like, where are they going to, and, people complain about the deer. Well, you cut down, you took away all their
The
habitat.
forest.
Yeah. And you keep cutting down and building when there's other areas of land that you could use and reutilize. It's already, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to get into local issues with you, but it happens too often where there's
It
space
does.
available. And it's like, well, we'll buy this spot and we'll just cut everything down. And
That breaks my heart.
yeah, it does.
There's a way to coexist, and I think
Yeah.
more people have to think about, it's a coexisting.
It's
So
a
how do we live with the habitat, with the animals, the insects, the things that are already there, and be as low impact as we possibly can as humans?
Yeah, as low impact as we possibly can. I was talking with some folks from our library, and there's digital services where you can get magazines. And again, I'm a big recycler, and I'm always recycling. Yet, if you cannot use the magazine, if you can get it online and look through it online, then you're actually not. No one has to cut down a tree to do the to print the magazine to send to you that you recycle, because there's a cost of recycling also.
There is.
It's important to recycle. Again, I'm all for recycling, but if you don't have to use it, then, or find other ways to do it, that's a much better way. Or instead of all the plastic water bottles, buy your water bottle.
Buy your water
Right?
bottle,
And just
reuse
fill it and fill it up, right? And
That's
fill it up
right.
and fill it up. So a little bit again about the website, johnnybutterflyseed.com.
So in addition to the things that you were talking about from a retail perspective, we also maintain a blog that has a lot of educational material in it. Whether you're interested in being an urban butterfly farmer, or you want to know how to work with a native plant like the scrub plum and propagate that. So it's quite a span from anything from children to adults. You can get a lot of educational materials from johnnybutterflyseed.com.
And again, you just go there. We've got the links up at louisfreeshow.com, wfmj.com, johnnybutterflyseed.com. Again, check out the blog. Again, you've got a lot of information, lots of information at the blog, and you're wonderful. And please say hi to Michael for me. I mean, you do wonderful work, and this is so important. Again, if we can raise the kids with this idea and understand that people plant the milkweed. I'm going to do it in the spring. Again, spring for an old guy like me, it's a long time away. But if I'm still here, I'm planting milkweed, because I think it's a wonderful thing to do, because we wonder, what do you do? People don't know.
They don't
I
know.
love the butterflies. I miss the butterflies. I'm not using Roundup. I'm not using these harsh chemicals, and which is great. But what more can I do? And that's what you do with Johnny Butterfly Seed and johnnybutterflyseed.com. The Adventures of Johnny Butterfly Seed. Again, available everywhere online. And again, you can order it through Barnes & Noble. You can go directly to the website, johnnybutterflyseed.com. Tarisa Parrish, I'm honored to have you on. I hope you'll do the gig with me again. I love the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Louis.
Thank you so much. How wonderful, folks. Again, if you go to the website, we've got links up at louisfreeshow.com, wfmj.com. Just go directly to the